Hi everybody, Lemon Meta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. It's been a big ride, it's been 2 years since I started this, and I'm still not quite halfway. So granted, I've taken a lot of breaks, or at least not been reading as quickly as I could have, especially during that first few months. So I think it's safe to say that probably close to another 2 more years of this will be coming. Yeah, let's get some more light in here. But yeah, this has been amazing. Just not only seeing all the stories and stuff that I found amazing when I was a kid, but also just cataloging all my experiences like this. It's been really great and just an amazing feeling in general. And I'm glad to share it with a few people here who watch this. So this one's gonna be a bit of a bigger one. I figured I still am not great at editing, so it's still gonna be the same editing that I just learned. But figured for 2 years at least get a little bit more. So 10 stories on the docket today instead of just 7. But yeah, let's just dive in with these, starting with Intoxicated by Perrett. And this one's a really simple, very short one joke thing where Tidus takes the Sin's toxin excuse from Final Fantasy X and just runs with it and decides to just use that to excuse a really bunch of stupid behavior. Really quick and simple. It's fine. It'll give you a quick chuckle. I had some fun. I had a lot of fun with this, and it's gonna stay on my list as a quick joke that you'll probably enjoy. Number 2 is Naruto When Darkness Falls by Karasu87. And this is a Naruto crossover with Batman the Animated Series. Not spectacularly interesting. It also doesn't get anywhere. There's only 2 chapters. It's the main plot is instead of taking on the Joker as her first patient, Dr. Harleen Quinzel gets a crazy version of Naruto that just happened to show up in Gotham City. Once again, like I said, there's only 2 chapters, and everything here is just building up that Naruto, building up a bit of a relationship between Naruto and Harley, and showing that he can make her go slightly insane. There's nothing really noteworthy here by itself. Nothing that is I feel like a need to see, and obviously nothing actually pays off in moral narrative. So this is just another story of okay, this guy had an idea, but he never actually continued it enough to flesh it out. And there's no must-see even lines here, so easy to skip. It's not going to stay on my list. Number 3 is Mischief Managed by HighValour. And so the summary of the story puts it as a wrong boy who lived story. As guy, Harry has a brother who gets treated as a boy who lived. But that's really a misnomer, as this story is more just overpowered outsider comes in and solves all the problems. Mainly because really the boy who lived being Darren in this case, as Harry's brother, basically has no impact on the story because, as the author states, when the author's oh, whenever Darren acts just like Harry did in canon and stuff, and also the actual backstory of this never really comes into play of how his brother what happened there, it never comes up. So it's basically pointless little thing to set up the story. What the actual story is that Loki from Norse mythology, the plot was that he would be stuck in Harry's body, and then when he dies, then he becomes, the boy he regains his memories. So, like I said, the main plot and stuff, aside from the fact that you know, Harry's parents, I think, still live in this one and stuff, like things happen, but like it's really not that different. There are some fun times to be had with this story, other than that, though, because like I said, it's the overpowered outsider coming in to save the day. At first, like Loki takes over the role of Gilderoy Lockhart, and we are treated to a much more competent professor during the Chamber of Secrets incident, where Loki's doing all the stuff. That's really fun. It's also fun seeing what Loki does outside of Hogwarts, as he spends a lot of time going on other adventures and doing things that I actually wish we got a bit more time with that. The story mainly focuses on the second and fifth books, because those are the 2 years that Loki ends up teaching at Hogwarts, so he's there. The other ones are very short instances where we just get like brief rundowns of what he did. We don't really get to spend a lot of time with them. And I really did enjoy reading this Loki's experience of this stuff. Sadly, the ending is not as entertaining as the rest, since it's really truncated, and it feels like the author just wanted to end the story, and so had Loki just decide, hey, I'm bored, let's solve the problem and get out. It feels rushed and it doesn't really satisfy that well, but the rest of the story is more than enjoyable enough to make up for it. I had a lot of fun, and it does it does focus more on the Loki of Norse mythology, not the Loki of like the Thor movies and stuff, so there might be a couple disconnects that if you're expecting that, but I really enjoyed this, and it's going to stay on my list. Alright. Number 4 is Intelligent Conversation by Read Genesis X. And this is a Final Fantasy VII fanfic that has a very misleading title, because if you're looking for some deep introspection, you have come to the wrong place. This story takes place in an AU where Genesis decided to take Cloud as his apprentice when he was trying to join Soldier, and Cloud just has a lot of interesting ideas about mythological creatures, and he wants to share them. It's a whole lot of short moments of endearing stupidity, where almost every chapter deals with a new monster and how Cloud deals with his many fears. It's just a lot of fun. Cloud's chemistry with Genesis, especially, it becomes really entertaining. You also get brief moments of Angeal, Zack, Sephiroth, and they're all entertaining. But it's mainly the dynamic between Cloud and Genesis that really makes it shine. It's just a bunch of short, fun vignettes that are sure to put a smile on your face, and it's gonna stay on my list. All right, number 5 is The Riddle of Steel by Chuckman. And this is an Evangelion fic where Shinji gets inspired by Conan the Barbarian a little bit before canon starts, and so brings a whole different psyche and confidence to the game. The thing's labeled as humor, but there's nothing really funny here. It's mainly just an AU with a more confident Shinji, where the angels quickly become irrelevant as Shinji just turns his entire class into an army that he then starts training to kill Seal. Like, it's short, and the last bit happens very quickly over just the last couple of chapters. And honestly, that's kind of the problem. Like, the length of this story is the problem, because it's so short, it doesn't give any plot lines time to breathe. Everything happens so quickly, and the story is just mainly actions and other people reacting to Shinji's attitude without any time for it to grow. It's just like it's this classic case of the story is just things happening, and not a lot of emotional weight and stuff getting placed on events. It's perfectly serviceable, but it's nothing really gripping or interesting. So I'd say you can give it a look. It's complete, so it's fine, but I would not be interested in revisiting this, and it's not going to stay on my list. Alright, number 6 is an odd one. It's called Sex Education, Anko Midarashi Style by The Digger. And this is a Naruto fic that takes place a couple years before the end, like the canon would start. It takes place when Naruto is still in the training academy. I think they're like 10 or 11. And it's as the title says, it's where Anko teaches Naruto's class sex ed. It's weird, and you know, they're all the fact that like they're all preteens and stuff getting sex ed, that already becomes a little skeevy to some people, but I mean I get it. And if it was just talking and learning about stuff, that would have been fine. But then Anko also has the kids end up getting naked in front of each other and eventually has them sleep with each other, and I found that pretty uncomfortable to read, as there's also many moments where she performs sexual acts with her students, who again are like 11. That's pedophilia. I don't want to. It's squicky. It's not all smut, as Anko actually does teach and like information rather well. And honestly, I remember I learned some stuff when I actually read it that I didn't know previously from my sex ed class, because it failed me. And I think the lectures actually work rather well, and she I feel like in the teaching segments works well without like giving information without letting anybody feel embarrassed about it or anything. There's also a kidnapping plot that comes in near the end that is actually a direct consequence of Anko's actions and the difference in the timeline that's occurred. So it actually makes the story feel more real and not as if it's just some weird thing happening in a bubble in this universe. And I also see the point for why Anko's doing some of these actions in universe context of Naruto, where like these kids are all going to a world where they are possibly going to get attacked and sexually assaulted and stuff like that. They need to know how to deal with it and stuff like that. But it's all just really squicky, because again, it's preteens having sex and stuff like that, and that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, including myself, as it turned out. If you can get past the child sex and stuff, you'll find a story that teaches a lot about sex and being comfortable with your own body and stuff, along with a bunch of kids say the darndest things kind of humor, and a plot that feels like it fits rather well in the Naruto universe. I just couldn't get past the squickiness of it, and I guess I've become more prudish in my older age, and I just can't keep this on my list in good conscience. So it's gonna fall off my list. Alright, number 7 is Of Packages and Punches by Bastard King. And this is a My Little Pony fic that focuses on Princess Luna taking part in a little charity event to boost her PR. It's delightfully nutty and showcases a lot of the casual insanity that makes a lot of cartoons like SpongeBob and My Little Pony, as I said, really enjoyable. It lets all of the main 6 get a few gags out and gives Luna a strong character that really wasn't actually present in the first couple seasons. And I enjoyed this a lot, especially, and I feel like anybody who likes the show, and especially likes Princess Luna, would definitely get a kick out of this story. And it's going to stay on my list. Alright, now we go to the extra stories for this video. Number 8 is Mage Rising by Deus Ex Mati. And this is Harry Potter fanfic that takes place at the Department of Mysteries battle during Order of the Phoenix. And basically, Harry sees Hermione get hit and goes berserk and showcases that he's super, super amazingly powerful. And then him and his crew decide to take control of the war. Not really, but like they become a much new team that are going to get a lot of training. Like, there's not really much to say in this because it's not complete. And like this is another one. It's like 13 chapters, and there's a lot of words here, but it's really all just prologue and setup, where we're just seeing that Harry's powerful, and yeah, everybody else is also just super powerful, and they're just like, okay, we got to start planning some training and stuff. And then there's one inciting incident that I would say it might be like the closing to a prologue, so like the prologue just finished, but it's really, again, just a lot of build-up. There's a lot of exposition about Horcruxes and like the author's power level system, but again, it's all build-up with no really good payoff or structure, especially because this story, like most Harry Potter stories, are treating as like the only arc that matters is dealing with Voldemort, and if that doesn't finish, there's no complete arc. So if there's no arc, there's no satisfaction in that. Are there any super special moments of intrigue or something that really sticks out and that I feel is a must read? No. There's like 2 fights that are general, just like overpowered. Harry throws a whole bunch of magic and deals stuff, but there's nothing really interesting or spectacular about any of these, and with no overarching narrative to feel closure or anything. This is another story that like just doesn't go anywhere really, and you can safely skip it, and it's gonna fall off my list. Number 9 is Our Body by Siffy III. And this is a short little crossover with NCIS and Danny Phantom, where the NCIS team stumbles across Danny's like frozen body as he's hiding out on a naval base, and then they end up dealing with a small ghost problem. It's a really quick little adventure that really feels like they just like it's just like the two shows just walked into each other, bumped into each other, apologized, and then moved back on, and then never dealt with each other again. Like, it's not bad, just really, it's not bad, it's really sparse on any, like, drama or character beats, which makes it difficult to pull the reader in emotionally. But like I said, like, as a contained incident, like, scenario that would just be in and out really quick, it kind of is similar to one of the ones I read previously, which was, I think it was called the Paranormal Case, where I said which was a House MD and Danny Phantom crossover. But that one was also a little bit, it built a bit more of a connection, or it relied more on the mystery feel of House's traditional episodes, so it felt more real to me. Whereas this one, there's a bit of awkwardness here, and it doesn't really give the sense of, it doesn't give the emotional investment or connection that even the previous story did. I do think it's good, just not great. Like, if I was grading this, I would give it a B minus. Like, I think it's fine, but it's not. It's also disposable, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again, but I don't think it's interesting enough to stay on my list. I do think it's perfectly fine to give it a once over, but I'm not sure if it would like stay in anybody's minds after a long period of time. So it's not going to stay on my list. And finally, for this anniversary video, we have The Prisoner's Cipher by Ecthelion 3. And this is a Harry Potter story that takes place years after like the war and stuff like that, and it's like a story of Harry being an insane prisoner of the Ministry or something like that, and Hermione getting dragged into his case for a reason. It's a bit of a mystery story because we're not told the inciting incidents and stuff. We're just thrown into this years later, and then we piece it together with Hermione, and it's all told through Hermione's point of view, which I think is interesting, and I like because we see it through her point of view. We're mainly getting her emotional journey of dealing with her former friend and all the baggage he's done. I think this does really well. Getting like it shows lots of raw emotion as well as dealing with the current Harry, who's at times very dangerous feeling and kind of cold and manipulative in a lot of ways. But also at the same time he fluctuates in manner multiple times. The ending kind of felt a little odd, but I think it does, especially where Hermione starts getting like kind of like Stockholm syndrome kind of stuff. But at the same time, because we've been following her point of view throughout this entire journey, we can see that okay, yeah, she kind of is excusing a lot of behavior, but she's emotionally compromised at that point, and you kind of feel the same thing, especially if you enjoyed the Harry Potter series themselves, because you probably have your own emotional investment Perry and stuff, and do want to see things work out, even though some terrible things have happened that he's done that you can't really just excuse. I just feel overall I feel like the story gives a good tragic tale to anybody who wants to go looking for that kind of thing in the Harry Potter verse, even if some of the base reasons for why things end up that way are kind of simple and not super kind of like fairy tale-ish, but I do think this is a very good emotional story, and it's going to stay on my list. Whew. And there we go. 10 stories read, 2 years gone. I'm gonna be optimistic and call this the halfway point of my journey. Maybe not story wise, but time wise, and status wise. Like, I have now read 605 stories, 303 of which have stayed on my list. So it's like about 50%. Super interesting. Thank you for everybody who stayed this long and watched, whether this is your first video or if you've been watching since the beginning, or if you just occasionally drop by. Thank you for seeing these. If you want to see any of these stories, again, links for most of them. I don't think I'm going to do a direct link for sex education, but links to the others are in the description. You can always search for these stories on fanfiction.net. They're always there that way too. Also, as always, I leave links to my profile and my forum where I also post this stuff. But yeah, this has been great. 2 years seeing my past. Very not as embarrassing as I thought it would be. A lot of just unfulfilled promise, more than nothing. But I'm really glad, and I hope the next 2 years' stories are just as amazing. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.